Hey everyone, this is Adam Ellenboss from Nightlight Astrology, and today we are going to take a look at Pluto's entrance into the sign of Aquarius, which is coming up here this weekend. We're going to take a look at it from the standpoint of all of the whole sign horoscopes. So you could listen to the horoscopes today from the standpoint of your rising sign or your sun sign. I recommend your rising sign because that's going to correspond with the whole sign house version of your birth chart, which means you'll get the actual house that Pluto is entering from the ancient or traditional perspective, as well as the Indian perspective. Both traditions originally used whole sign houses. So you could listen to your sun sign too. It's a divinatory approach that works for some people. So anyway, let's go ahead and oh, by the way, I'm going to pull one tarot card for each. We covered these in depth in a few horoscope editions, by the way, at the beginning of the month, so you might want to go back and listen to the horoscopes for January, as well as some that I did around the Kickstarter at the end of December. These are sort of refreshers, because there's probably a lot of people out there who could just use a nice little refresher on what topics are about to be activated through this transit. We've covered the major confluence of transits from a variety of standpoints this week already, so I also recommend going back and listening to what we've already covered, because there's quite a bit that we've already talked about with respect to the astrological energies that are coming through over the weekend. Anyway, before we get into it, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Click that thumbs up button. It takes 2 seconds and it really helps the channel to grow. You can find a transcript of any of my daily talks on the website, nightlightastrology.com. Don't forget, this Friday, we are starting our new masterclass series. We're looking at the fixed stars in part 1 of our series, which takes place over 4 weeks, about 10 hours worth of content. Year 3 program just began, and Roots and Spheres just began. So you can check all of those programs out on the website, nightlightastrology.com, under the courses tab. And be sure to check out need-based tuition if you would like to take one of those courses but can't afford it. We'd be happy to work with some of you out there who might need a little help. And any questions about any of the programs that you're looking at, email us info@nightlightastrology.com. Okay, on that note, let's put up the real-time clock and remind ourselves of what the heck is going on. So here we are, Thursday, and we've been talking a lot about what's happening between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, when the 2 planets, the Sun and
What's
Pluto,
up, Cloud?
enter Aquarius.
Je suis mon ami, comment ça va? Comment ça va, chef Cloud9?
Middle November, and then it leaves Capricorn, goes back.
What up, bro? How are you, man?
I'm
I'm eating an omelet right now.
And then it stays in Aquarius for about 2 decades. So this is the year of Pluto's entrance to stay into the sign of Aquarius. This is the first entrance. The second
A 6-egg omelet.
End of the year, but we should be starting to feel and notice the effects of Pluto as it changes signs and houses.
All good. Thanks, bro. Thanks to you.
Today, what we're going to do, because we've talked at length already this week about the Sun and Pluto's conjunction. We've talked about the fact that it's happening as Venus squares Neptune, Mercury trines Jupiter. And so today we're just going to do horoscopes. What I'm going to do is advance the chart, and these will be brief compared to, say, like the beginning of the month, or we did hours worth of treatments on these last month, so you could go back and look at some of those if you wanted to go even further. Today's just sort of like reminder horoscopes.
6 eggs.
Because sometimes, you know, we get lost in the shuffle of a lot of
Nothing added. Only salt and pepper and cheese. A little bit of cheese.
The basics. So
I whipped it up.
we're going to look at them. And I'm
The secret to a good omelet is whipping it with a fork or a beater, egg beater, so you get the air into it, so it's nice and fluffy. So it's like a souffle omelet. If you put milk in, it would be a little bit fluffier, but I don't add any milk.
It may or may not resonate for every last person who hears this. Just remember that.
That's the one, buddy.
Way of speaking, and sometimes they're more relevant than others. and that's a normal part of the process of divination. So anyway, let's start
Yeah,
with
buddy, we're gonna need
Aries,
it.
because
For a session of Aztec, double agent, we're gonna fucking need it, man. It's no Silo LTK, but...
So, sorry.
Rather Silo Dark LTK.
Alright, so for Aries, Pluto enters the 11th whole sign house. That is a house that was traditionally associated with friends and allies, with groups of people and specific benefactors in our life who may be useful when it comes to the pursuit of our wishes, hopes, dreams, and aspirations. It was called the Joy of Jupiter, and it is a house that is associated with that which is rising up to the top of the chart but is not yet there. And so anything in this house is thought, you think of it as something that's helping us reach the top of the sky, or developing us toward the top of the sky, which is a place of accomplishment. And so this Pluto's entrance into the 11th house can suggest a shift in your long-term dreams, plans, goals, or visions. It could mean that there is also a transformation around the allies or people that you find most conducive to the realization of your dreams, hopes, and visions. That means changes in friends, groups, social institutions, communities, organizations, anyone or anything that is a part of your aspirations and hopes. Your colleagues, so to speak, and also anyone that's considered like a helpful benefactor. I pulled one card, and I'm going to show you. The card that I pulled is the Four of Wands, which shows a kind of victory and celebration, and also kind of like the early stage within the development of the suit.
It's
setting the foundation for future success. So this card to me suggests, remember, one of the meanings of the word Pluto, which you've heard me say before, is riches. And so it wouldn't be surprising to me for Aries folk out there to be seeing a kind of death and rebirth, Pluto, right, of your long-term dreams, aspirations, hopes, longings, and the people who are best suited to help you getting there, or the transformation is within the social dynamics of your life or your professional life. And Pluto, as a planet of riches, may also suggest that you are celebrating some victories within the scope of your long-term dreams, hopes, and wishes, and that you're finding people and allies that can help you establish long-term success, or that you have to look at who does and who does not help you establish long-term success. The Four of Wands kind of has this feeling of like, there's a celebration, almost like a wedding maybe, but there's a celebration of people that are all coming together, and there's a sense of having established some level of victory or accomplishment. So those are archetypes that seem to be speaking through Pluto's entrance into the 11th. So remember all of that. This is not something that will all appear on one day, but rather something that you may start to notice over the course of the next year. And remember, we also had this around for a little bit last year, from March to like June. All right, let's go ahead, and we're going to take a look at the sign of Taurus next. And let's see what we're going to draw a card for Taurus as well. This places Pluto into the 10th house, and let's do this. Okay, good. So Pluto entering the 10th house for those of you who are a Taurus rising, or if you're listening for Taurus sun, we see Pluto go into the 10th house, which is the place of action. It's called praxis, which means action, but action as in action in the world, in the larger context of the marketplace and the social civic arena that you are a part of. Mostly it will be about career, but depending on what stage of life you're in, you may see this speaking to those things that you are identified with socially, or those activities that define your social interaction with the world. Pluto moving into this house could suggest a remaking or reconstitution of your career, of who you work with, of your boss, your title, your professional path, or a transformation within organizations you work for, the company you work for. It could be about more power or responsibility, promotion, wealth, the development of those things in your career, all of which might be really nice. On the other hand, the Plutonian signature of death and rebirth could bring significant remaking of professional dynamics and workplace dynamics. The card that I drew for you is the Three of Swords, which is interesting because this would point to a certain level of like breakup or heartbreak or, you know, dealing with significant disappointments that maybe, I mean, when I see this in the context of the 10th house, I really think, okay, yeah, there could be people replacing you at work, or power struggles, or breaking up with a workplace,
or
just, you know, the pangs of heartache that lead you to the next card that comes up in the sequence, the Four of Swords.
Moonraker's like a fucking
where there's a real
deciphering the Rosetta Stone. He knows all the numbers of my quotes.
Distance and
the hieroglyphs.
In which to consider new ways of being in your career after some disappointments, which would be very Plutonian. On the other hand, I don't think.
Oh my God, do you think we're gonna get a PB today? We might, man. We actually might.
Very applicable for some.
We can. We might.
Situations, and others may find that.
Career. Yeah.
House is really
I'm impressed, man.
And in many ways, very.
We got 233 quotes now. 234. That's insane.
Touches. So. Either way, you see it very powerfully in the house of career for Tauruses. Now, let's move forward. We're going to go to Geminis, which places Pluto into the 9th house. And here, do I like that one? Yeah, okay. So here we have Pluto moving into the house that's really associated with...
We have a lot of really bad quotes.
Might be your understanding of a particular discipline like medicine or rocket science,
just
or it could be
inspired by the smallest dumb thing.
Or philosophy. It could
Pissing
be that
about on archives. Oh, nice.
Enters that house, or that you're going to be
110, nice, bro.
Or that a religious point of view is
nice, dude.
Transformed.
Yeah, it's not easy, man.
Understanding and your outlook on life,
110, you could definitely get faster though, for sure.
Part of the 9th house is ready to.
The trick is not letting go of full speed at the doors.
This happens when people go through religious or spiritual conversions. It happens when people start studying.
Oh, what a banging nuts native.
It happens sometimes when people just expand their minds by learning something new, or one teacher or form of teaching that has been useful is no longer, so there's a death, and then there's a rebirth, a new kind of teaching or wisdom,
nice, man.
Yeah,
you can.
Outlook, a new
that's good, buddy. All right.
So I like this.
Yeah, the trick is not letting go of C up as you fucking go through the doors, you know.
Spiritual compass, and maybe things to do with education and teaching or teachers becoming really important. Now, the card I drew for you, Geminis, is the Ten of Swords, which is a pretty ominous card. Like when people get this card, they usually get a little bit worried. I just see this as like, it's the end. It's time to be, something is really ready to be done. And when Pluto enters the 9th house and I see this card, I go, yeah, certain points of view.
We'll practice soon. Yeah, buddy.
Philosophical or spiritual
Why does it reset? Why would it do that?
What? Why? Of course, and it's time to let go and shift to something new. Or even the idea that something that's been a useful paradigm or point of view is just done. I drew a second card to get something maybe a little bit more, a little bit more qualification. The Eight of Cups came up, which means walking away from something, letting go of something. I would see that in the 9th house as the end of and the letting go of a former point of view, and maybe opening your mind to something new. You have to let go in order to get there. All right, so that's what some things to consider for Geminis. Let's take this forward, and we're going to put Cancer on the ascendant, which takes Pluto into the 8th house. I'm going to draw another card. This is an interesting card. So the 8th house, of course, you've heard me talk about this many times before. This is the place of our soul.
Oh my gosh, I really want to do this. I guess so.
The esteem of other people in a place of debts, both karmic and like literal, like the debt you owe on your house or the debt you owe on a credit card, but also the figurative or more, sort of mysterious debts that we owe to other people through soul contracts. When Pluto comes into your 8th house, it starts shaking up the dynamics of your soul contracts with other people. What you owe or what you are owed will change. You could be in receipt of a powerful level of success or opulence or wealth or income, or you could become more popular with Pluto entering the 8th house, because there is one of the things that Pluto brings again is this kind of release of
Can hear the game much?
And empowerment and
Yeah,
regenerative force.
I turned it like way down.
It does so by transforming things very deeply, and one of the things that can transform in the 8th house is what.
Sorry, man, I'm not going to turn it up.
Or how much
it's just so loud. This is the most loud level.
Or, put into you.
I think Caverns is louder, but man, this level is so loud.
In many horary charts, one
Silo's pretty loud.
Methods for looking at how successful a business will be to see what the
Sorry, man. The music's off too. I turned the music off.
Second, 7th, and 8th houses will be like, because it has to do with whether the clients and their money will value your product. So Pluto in the 8th house can really speak to a transformation.
It's actually not GoldenEye at all.
Debts will come due.
No nostalgia here in this channel.
All owe coming into
none.
A temporary body. Is the temporary body's like a loaner vehicle.
Only new
one of those you get from the
memories.
Well, your
don't bring that nostalgia here.
Rental car where your car's in the shop or something, and
I'm sure.
We're gonna have to leave this body eventually. So
no, because it's just too loud, man.
But also
it's just way too loud. I play on my TV's, my CRT's completely quiet too.
Metaphorical, not literal. Then you also
I play in silence and then I turn it up at the glass. The only reason why I turn it up is to hear guards and when the glass opens.
Maybe how you've ever been.
Otherwise, I play this entire level with my TV silent, but you can't really, especially with random guards at the end. Knowing where they are and shit.
Suggests like a
and drone cycles and shit.
Happy kind of final state of abundance and happiness, a little bit of a happily ever after card. This to me,
and the glass sound is just so good, man.
Being in receipt of something.
The glass sound is the best.
Powerfully life affirming and you know, kind of. This opens up the idea that the Pluto in the 8th, for some people, is going to provide tremendously powerful resources, and maybe the joining of assets between people, as in a marriage or relationship, that through its joint capacity creates a larger state of abundance, peace, or happiness. So, I think that's a great card for Cancers out there.
All right, nice, man. 110. That's good, man. I think my PB is 106 or something on 00. Not to say that I'm better. It's just, I know that I lost a lot of time because I like OC up on the doors.
And that puts Pluto into the 7th.
Okay.
Oh, this is interesting. A great card for this one. So Pluto in the 7th is obviously connected to the transformative process, the regenerative.
Yeah, it is like a
primordial energy.
It's a good. It's an interesting. What's the onomatopoeia for that?
Meeting someone. It could mean breaking up with someone. It could mean the death of someone that you're close to. It could mean the rebirth of a relationship that needs a healing crisis to propel it to its next level, so to speak. There is probably no placement that people get more interested in than big planets.
Sorry, I'm just working on my stick still.
Right? Because our relationships are some of the most vulnerable, precious, and important places in our lives. They're also one of the most fertile grounds for self-development and growth, because our relationships are always giving us feedback about who we are and where we are.
It's an adjective too.
And so Pluto entering the 7th suggests dramatic, for Leos, suggests dramatic change and evolution and growth and development coming in through the realm of relationships.
This is very,
It's also about the wealth, power, and creative force that can bring regeneration and truly enriching transformation into our lives. And that's going to come through the realm of relationships, through what's working, through what's not working, through the new people you meet, through the people you deepen your bonds with. And the card that I drew is the Wheel of Fortune. And the Wheel of Fortune really suggests that we're also looking at patterns and cycles that have history behind them, and maybe the turning or shifting of patterns and cycles in a reverse direction, or in a new direction, or in the sense of completing a cycle, or that has some history behind it. The Wheel of Fortune, whenever I see it come up in a reading, it generally means that that there's whatever's coming up has history behind it, and that we're looking at the completion of a cycle or the transforming of a cycle that you're familiar with. You know this cycle. I think there's a very positive case to be made that card could suggest starting something new and healthier, because you're transforming the karmic patterns in that area of your life. So, but sometimes it does mean that you're something that has gone one way typically is about to reverse and go a different way, because the Wheel of Fortune suggests a pattern that is ready to shift one way or another. All right, for Virgos, we take Pluto into the 6th house. Let me pull a card here. Interesting card, a major arcana we'll look at in a second. Pluto entering the 6th is an interesting one because the 6th house has to do with everything that we exert a lot of effort to achieve. It's also a house that requires that we exert effort or that we persevere in order to overcome obstacles or hardships. So you can think of the 6th as a place of like slavery and hard work and like chronic illness and things that kind of keep coming at us that we have to endure and sort of burn and suffer through that are unfortunate. On the other hand, you can think of anything worthwhile in life that requires sacrifice and effort over a long period of time. Some degree of sacrifice and service is also implied in the 6th house. Pluto entering this house could suggest that there are new endeavors or activities that are compelling, that are capturing your imagination, that say you are going to start working and pouring energy into the sacrificial fires of this great work, and it's going to take 2 decades. You know, you're going to be, there's something you're working on now that it's partly your own spiritual work, but it's also the things that you are building or making. You think of the 6th almost like an apprenticeship for people who are passionate about something, or you think about Pluto in the 6th being about the wisdom of overcoming difficulties through perseverance and digging deep. And you know, 6th house is like Buddha training insofar as we have to learn how to deal with suffering and setbacks and learn how to be happy even despite their existence. But it's also about the things that require a lot of effort and sacrifice and passion. So when I see that, that's interesting because the card that I pulled for Virgos, thinking that these are the themes that are going to start becoming resonant for you, the card that I pulled is the Hierophant. Now, this could easily be a picture of the Buddha bestowing the boon, or Jesus, or any other god in the Indian tradition bestowing that boon, that sense of blessing. The Hierophant is, of course, like a European version of the idea that there are avatars or figures that we go to, whether they're in temples and they are deities like Murtis, like images of a god or goddess, or it's a literal person like a pope or the Dalai Lama. But we go and we essentially ask for blessings, or we ask for forgiveness, or we ask for something that we recognize as belonging, the authority resides in some force or power that is greater than ourselves. And what I find really interesting is Pluto in the 6th is totally appropriate for the Hierophant insofar as when you start pouring energy into the sacrificial fire, metaphorically speaking, you are asking that your effort, that your sacrifice, that your work be considered by the gods, and that you be, it's sort of like a shaman that is doing sacrifices and asking for rain. The 6th house has to do with Pluto in there, has to do with this rich force and energy that you're going to start pouring into something. And I would see the Hierophant as asking that your efforts be recognized and acknowledged.
Come on, man.
Might not be the
My stick is not cooperating today.
Response. Yes,
it's like stick, you can even hear it.
In time, you will become masterful at your instrument.
Yeah.
This has to do with the idea that my sacrifices be worthy. Or also it has to do with the appeal to
the
a
up-down
higher
axis.
For grace, mercy, help, healing, forgiveness. And that not from some place of I'm not worthy, or not out of fear, but developing a right relationship with the higher authorities that help us overcome things and give us help, or that acknowledge our efforts and reward our sacrifices. And that's what the gods do. That's why we connect with the gods, and that's really the role that I see the Hierophant playing. Take out the kind of Christian connotation.
So laggy, man.
It's better understood that way on an archetypal level. So let's go on to, after Virgos, we go to Libra. So with Libra, we take Pluto, we put it into the 5th house, which was called the Joy of Venus and the House of Good Fortune. It was connected with creative satisfaction as well as sensual and romantic enjoyment, associated with procreation and pregnancy and children. Pluto in the 5th house is truly a place that will start unlocking our sense of creative satisfaction or sensual enjoyment or pleasure or, I mean, Pluto in that house is really about, for example, some people who have been pent up romantically, sexually, or creatively will find that there's this volcano of creative energy, sexual energy that's ready to come forth. It's very creative. It does things creatively. I mean, it could create a baby, but it could also be about creating currents of better, almost like finding yourself better aligned with the needs of your body to experience pleasure, your mind to experience pleasure. There's also a sense of, you know, wealth or reward or luxury and abundance.
What was that hop? Like, why?
Of the dark side of pleasure that Pluto can bring up.
Such a dumb run. This is the dumbest run of all time.
One of the things Pluto does is it sort of,
this is so dumb, man.
Makes us look at shadows, and the shadow of the fifth is often pleasure. You'll find gambling addictions, alcoholism, sex addictions, all sorts of things in the fifth house sometimes when there's challenging planets there that indicate that we need to revise or rework our relationship with pleasure. Anyway, the card that came up was the Six of Wands, which is an interesting card because it really suggests victory and celebration and success. But also, you know, exploration maybe of pride and power. And that's the dark side of maybe Pluto in a house that was called the House of Good Fortune. This guy looks pretty fortunate, right? He looks like he's got something rolling in his way. He also looks like he might be like arrogant or maybe too proud.
Come on. Right away?
A little bit.
Yeah, right away a boost? Come on, man. Don't even give me a chance. Just give me a chance. Come on.
Power, success, wealth, happiness, abundance, and the dark side of those things, as well as the releasing of those creative energies that can do some really amazing things and truly make you happier if you're a Libra. So watch for that release of creative energy. All right, let's go forward to Scorpio, which brings Pluto into the fourth house. Now, you Scorpios know that you're no like stranger to the darker and more subterranean energies. Modern astrology associates Pluto with Scorpio. I do not personally. I think there's some really nice associations, but I don't give outer planet sign rulerships as a traditional astrologer. I use them all the time, but in this case, though, I do think it's worth mentioning that this Plutonian energy in some ways is a little bit like, I'd say there's one sign that can deal with it a little bit better than other signs. It's Scorpio. Anyway.
Man, my stick is bugging. We're working through it. We're not, like, it's not an excuse. I'm just saying.
Card again. I'll show you another major arcana. Pluto entering the fourth house is entering the place of foundations.
Especially the up-down axis. It's like, why?
It's entering the place of ancient, hidden mysteries and roots and ancestry and living environment and family and parents. When Pluto enters this house, you consider generational shifts. You consider changes in the constellations of your family karma. Births, deaths, weddings, funerals. Over the course of 20 years, you know, for a lot of people that shouldn't be too surprising, right? It's a long time. But as it enters, too, you'll start noticing that the plates beneath the surface that hold up the psychic, emotional, and historical foundations of your life are shifting. That can mean moving. It can.
I have a B-grade steel bowl. I need to re-lube it. I need to open it and put lube in it.
You're buying or selling property.
I think I'm gonna have to do that.
There are significant changes in relationships with family members.
Just lube it up like big time.
Alterations in the course of family members' lives that are tremendously significant and may start impacting you in some ways.
I'm not using it right now though.
It's amazing
because it
what
jammed
will
up.
happen when our family karma shifts, how subtly our own karma will shift, or vice versa.
Came to a screeching halt. I'm using an OEM stick
your fourth house
and a B-grade steel bowl,
which is a fascinating card that speaks to the development of intuition as well as the that kind of felt mystical sense of things. And you may, I mean, one of the things that, remember, the fourth house was associated with in ancient astrology.
Right now I'm using an OEM stick.
In modern astrology, we associate mystery schools and occult studies with the eighth house.
It's so sick,
not
dude.
Actually the traditional meaning of the eighth house. The fourth house was the house connected with the ancient mysteries and like the Dionysian ecstasies and things like that. So the high priestess in this card to me speaks to that other possibility that in addition to there being mystical changes, emotional changes within the environment of home, family, ancestral history, land, living environment, that will require you to use more of your intuition to work your way through. This is also a card that quite literally speaks to the idea that you may be getting involved in ancient and enigmatic or occult-like studies,
Good man, Cloud. Hope you're doing well, bro.
You will become interested in the mysteries of the universe, so to speak. So I really like that one for Scorpios. It's a really nice pull. Let's go ahead. We're gonna move on to Sagittarius.
Dude, me and my nephew and niece, and I,
the third house.
we've been playing a lot of Diddy Kong Racing. Oh my god, they love that game. So do I.
It's not a nice, it's not a nice description. The reason we
I
say
think it's a
that
secret
is
agent.
the third house is called the Joy of the Moon, and it has to do with the kinds of it has to do with the kinds of things that exist in.
Yeah, how'd I end up on secret agent? I gotta be really careful. Like, this is just
like
a tragedy of misselection
like
will
fish
occur.
tank that your fish live in.
I just gotta go
environment. There's
forward.
Lots of different features in that environment that are constant, that they see and swim around every day. In the third house, we sometimes think of the third house as culture, the kinds of culture or cultures that are part of the makeup of your emotional, psychological environment, ancestral karma, neighbors, siblings, people who are close to you that constitute the root relations and root environmental conditions of your life. That's why the third house is called the Joy of the Moon. When Pluto enters, it suggests a change of culture and a change of environment. One thing that I drew two cards for this one because the first one confused me a little bit. Here's the first one. It's the Ten of Wands, which suggests perseverance and pushing through to a difficult conclusion. This is about finishing things. This is about things in the environment that you've been enduring or bearing and are ready to set down. The card that I drew in juxtaposition asking, more insight, more information is the Star card, which really suggests that there's a new beginning and fantastic, new, interesting ideas that can start to reshape the landscape of your everyday life, from what your home environment looks like, to the people you hang around with, to family relations. It's like the village that you live in psychologically, psychically, is ready to change because
stick is weird. That's what I'm gonna do. That's what I gotta do.
Pluto and Aquarius to see those
lube my stick.
Where you're sort of
gonna be lubing the stick
through something that's hard and difficult. It's ready to be
lubing the bowl.
You need to finish it and then establishing a new vision. And this comes in through the mental, emotional environment or landscape of your life, what occupies your mind, but also what defines the kind of fish tank you live in every day. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to move forward again to Capricorn.
Why?
So with Capricorn, we bring Pluto into the second house, which is the place.
See, there's so much lag there. I didn't even pass away there. I don't know why it's so laggy right now.
Things that we have or people around us that serve as major supports in our life. In Indian astrology, the second house is actually connected in some ways to those family members who are most supportive, the education you receive, anything that you're in possession of that kind of
it's fine. I needed to revisit the steel bowl anyways.
That prop up your existence, that support you. This is interesting. Okay. So when Pluto enters that house, there can be
I need a steel
major
stick,
changes
man.
in terms of money,
That's what I need.
resources, jobs, your values, possessions, who or what you rely on as
That's
a form of
honestly
support
exactly
or
what I need.
dependence, but also what you are in possession of that is truly your own. My independent resources. It's a house that often speaks to the need for greater self-sufficiency because I've cultivated things that I can rely on. Skills, ability, money, bank account, whatever you want to call it. The first card that I drew for Capricorns with Pluto entering your second, transforming that house of resources.
Oh, what?
Is
Come
the Two of
on. I
Swords,
know he's stuck
which might
too.
mean that you're at the precipice of a new stage and you have to kind of, there's different choices. It's not easy to know which way to go. You might have to tap into your intuition and may have to listen inwardly as opposed to trying to sort everything out purely from a rational point of view. And also knowing that you may not have all the information you need yet. You need to feel your way through until there is more information available. I drew a second card, and the second card I drew is the Fool. And the Fool also points to this being a point of departure from the past. And you're ready to start on a new journey, a new endeavor, probably around money, finances, the resources you have, the skills you have, what you're developing or cultivating. And part of what the Two of Swords might